Hey guys, it's Klana back again with another review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. So I'm coming to you guys from my new computer that I got for Mother's Day. Thanks, babe. And I wanted to go ahead and drop episode two's recap of Queen Charlotte. I know I have not been good, and it's been forever and a day since I dropped episode one, but charge it to my head and not my heart. So I really want to just get into it because this episode had a lot and I took notes. So hopefully you're ready to get down in the comments and talk to me about what you thought of episode two, which is entitled Honeymoon Bliss. But we soon learn that it's not that blissful of a honeymoon for Charlotte. So it literally begins in the days following George and Charlotte's wedding. And Charlotte is initially, trying to look at her situation from like a glass half full perspective. She's like not seeing her husband because he's over in Q and she don't really know what's going on. But she's like, okay, well, I'm looking forward to like things that I can do to occupy my time. I'm looking forward to like going to some shows, knocking elbows with the high end of society until she realizes that she can't do anything. That she is literally like a prisoner in this house because she is on her honeymoon. And that means she's supposed to be getting knocked up and impregnated. And you can't be running around the streets of London when you're supposed to be with child. You can't do that. Um, and I just this montage of her like getting up in the morning, getting dressed up, getting dolled up, getting made over, going and sitting and eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner by herself. This poor child, like, she is just living the saddest, most isolated existence for someone so wealthy. But flip over to Princess Augusta, who we already don't like, and she's talking with like the royal council about the great experiment because this is like the Shondaland explanation for making Queen Charlotte be black and why there are black people amongst the members of the ton in the Bridgerton verse that we now have. And so the great experiment, giving black people titles so they can, be members of high society so that the queen will now have people who look like her, and it will kind of explain away and make it seem as though marrying the king off to someone so dark as she was intentional on like the king's behalf, because of course they didn't really know that that's what they were getting. We already don't like Mama Augusta. We don't like her. And we go back into that montage of Charlotte getting made up, done up, and the poor child is screaming her head off. And I can't help but think, being that they did not know Charlotte was black, how do her chambermaids know how to do her hair? Because they are styling old girl's hair, and her curls are curly. And, I kind of wish that like maybe we got like a little bit of a snippet of like her pulling out her oils, her shea butter, whatever, and like educating them on how to style her hair. That might have been too much. Maybe it hit the cutting room floor. And so finally Charlotte is like, I've had enough. Brimsley, I need you to like get the carriage. We're heading over to Q so she can finally like encounter her husband and say, look, I don't know what's going on with you, but like we need to get this going. We need to get the juices flowing because like we're supposed to be married and you're over here. What is going on? Well, we already knew some stuff was brewing between Brimsley and Reynolds, and they take the opportunity to like get it on. And I'm very happy for them that they are able to find joy amidst the trauma that is the queen and king's relationship right now. Charlotte goes out and finds George in the observatory. By the way, maybe I have not done enough research into, the British monarchy. I did not know that there was literally observatories. Now, I have been to Kensington Palace, and I have been to the orangery there. So the greenhouses of Kensington Palace. Beautiful estate, by the way. But I did not know that there was like observatories. That is a beautiful observatory, especially considering this is the 1700s. Gorgeous. Anyway, she gets in there, and George is like, I don't know what the problem is. Like, I don't know what you thought was supposed to be happening, but I'm over here looking at, Venus and the stars. And this is what I do with my time. This is how I find my joy. And Charlotte is just like confused because she's just like, but like we're supposed to be back at the palace or Buckingham House making the babies. She doesn't get it, but they have some cute moments in this scene. And then finally she goes back home and he stays. He does not come. Brimsley goes and he's like, you need to get your man together. He needs to offer her some type of peace offering. He needs to start trying to woo her because she is a proper lady and she's not going to just be like throwing her legs up for anybody. And so he sends her this really cute Pomeranian that she calls a deformed bunny. This is where I feel like we're really getting to see the actress who plays young Queen Charlotte channeling Golda's performance of older Queen Charlotte by calling it a deformed bunny. Like, this just makes me think of my husband because every time he sees a small dog, he just refers to them as like kick me dogs. And so it just makes me think of him when he says that. No offense to people who like dogs. He's not going around kicking dogs. I'm just saying that's what, because they're at your ankles. Anyway, then she's kind of had enough. She needs somebody to talk to. So she's like, I can't be isolated in this house forever. And he's like, okay, maybe you should just find like somebody who you can talk to, just one person, because you can't meet with your ladies in waiting, all of them, because you're supposed to be getting your honeymoon on. So she finds out. She asks him, hey, can I trust Lady Dansbury? And he's like, I think so. Or at least we don't see that, but behind the scenes, it's like inferred that you can trust her. So they officially meet. Now, this is where I need to see more scenes with young Lady Dansbury and the Queen, because this is what I like to see. Like, as my husband would say, these matrifocal relationships. Like, there's like an older sister vibe going on. And it's really nice because you know that they're friends in their older iteration, but this is really like an older sister kind of coaching her younger sister, even though Queen Charlotte obviously is more powerful than Lady Dansbury. And so they meet, and first of all, Queen Charlotte has no filter. She literally comes out and tells Lady Dansbury exactly what Brimsley said. And he's like, you weren't really supposed to be quoting me word for word. Which takes me back to season 1 when Charlotte kind of low-key lies and says that Brimsley is a horrible gossip. And we know that that's not true. That was just her kind of like giving a little nudge to Violet Bridgerton, saying like use the help to kind of find out the information. But it made me think of that because in this instance, it's Queen Charlotte that can't really keep her mouth closed. And this is where Lady Dansbury kind of educates her on what it means to consummate their relationship. Because mind you, her mama's dead, so she has not had anybody tell her about the birds and the bees. And let's be honest, in this day and age, back in them days, mamas wasn't telling the daughters about what that meant anyway. So like she's literally drawing pictures of like what it means to consummate one's union. And this of course echoes back to episode 1 when Queen Charlotte tells her daughters that she drew pictures to make sure that she understood how that was supposed to happen. But we cut over to older Queen Charlotte and Lady Danbury because she's still trying to figure out like how is she supposed to get her sons and daughters to marry and make the next generation of babies. And in that we also get the arrival of Violet Bridgerton, and Queen Charlotte is like, well, you have successfully married off 2 of your children. How did you do it? And she's like, well, it helps they're in love. And she's like, we don't got time to wait for all that. And she's like, well, that's how that happened. I really didn't have much to do with it. And so she's like, okay, we don't have time for that. I'm just going to force them to get married. And maybe if they're lucky, they'll fall in love later, because that's kind of what happened. But it's interesting because we're getting the story of Queen Charlotte and George, and yet Charlotte seems just so out of her depth in trying to figure out like how to help her children get through life and get to that stage. It's very interesting. We get more Reynolds and Brimsley. I like them. They're cute together. But basically, again, Brimsley's like, get your man together. Like, what is going on with him? Then the Queen, I guess she's not Queen Consort. I guess at one point she would have been Queen. I can't remember the title. But Princess Augusta. We don't really care for her anyway. She sends for Lady Dansbury, and she's trying to get Lady Dansbury to to spy on Queen Charlotte and give her all the info. And Lady D is definitely playing the system, which kudos to her, because she's like, you got us out here with these titles, but we can't do anything with these titles. Like, you don't get us no land, you don't have us no power. We need to negotiate. We need to come up with something. Like, this is not going to happen the way you want it to happen if you don't really elevate me and give us full power. I like how she's playing the system. So now we get to see like the beginnings of her being the Lady Dansbury that we know. And then George arrives at Buckingham House. Y'all, I love the actor who plays King George. He is just so charismatic and so likable that I hope that we get to see what is really unpacking and developing and everything with him, because there's a good chemistry between him and Charlotte. And he asked Charlotte to give him a chance. And then they go to the observatory and they look at Venus together. Now, it is, of course, does not escape me that Venus is named after Venus, the goddess of love. So the planet that he is so obsessed with is the goddess of love. He loves Charlotte, and he just doesn't know how to express it. And you just get to see so much of his personality in this scene, how humble he is. He doesn't want the trappings of the crown. He just wants to live a humble existence. He just wants to be Farmer George. Farmer George. I love that. I love that for them, for him. And so then they have a breakthrough, and he decides he's going to give their marriage a chance. He's going to go to Buckingham House with the Queen. And so they pack their bags and they run off and they go back to Buckingham House, and more Reynolds and Brimsley, so they're gonna be able to be regular together. Cute for them. And Charlotte and George. And so we have two culmination love scenes going on, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Love. We love love over here. Love. Then they consummate in a very beautiful, very modest scene. Because keep in mind that though we love love, Queen Charlotte is 17, which she points out in this episode. And I might have just left that little tidbit out. I mean, yes, history, but I might have just let that little tidbit, because she definitely reads older, and I probably just would not have drawn the attention to it. I just would have let it lie. But alas, they consummate and all is well, and we're on a good path until the next morning. She wakes up alone, and when she goes looking for her husband, there's his no good mama stressing him out, pushing him to the breaking point, and he basically lets out that he's doing all of this for the kingdom. And he kind of utters this phrase about being his happiness and misery is for the kingdom, and Charlotte really doesn't know where she falls on that spectrum. Is she his happiness? Is she his joy? Or is she his misery? And he ends, and he definitely has what seems to be a panic attack after his mom ends. Like, he was holding it together for her presence, and now that she is gone, he has a panic attack, and Reynolds sends for the doctor. And that's kind of where the episode leaves off. We really don't know what's going on with him. Some takeaways from this episode, though, is one, the actress playing young Lady Dansbury is gorgeous. She is gorgeous. Stunning. I really hope that she doesn't keep having to lay in bed with this old man. I really hope that we get to see some joy and love for her, befitting a woman of her stature and her beauty, because she is breathtakingly beautiful. And her family is from Sierra Leone, and her husband was basically a prince. So, definitely a reminder that there are kingdoms outside of Britain, and we really only ever look at the British monarchy as the monarchy, but there are kingdoms outside. There's royalty outside of all of this, and they descend from royalty. And so part of how she carries herself is befitting of that. And the other takeaway from me is how do they, Queen Charlotte's hair, somebody needs to explain to me how they know how to do Queen Charlotte's hair. So that is where episode 2 ends off, and we were on a good note until the end, because Shonda likes doing this to us. But episode 3 is coming, and hopefully we can right the ship, because we want to see more love happening for these two. So let me know down below in the comments what your favorite moment of episode 2 was. The episode is entitled Honeymoon Bliss. If you need to go back and watch it again, by all means. I watched it like 3 or 4 times trying to make this video, because it was a good episode. So yeah, let me know down below in the comments, and don't forget to click the subscribe button and follow me so you'll be alerted when I drop the video for episode 3, which will be coming a lot sooner than the episode 2 video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Toodles.